If you want to prioritize the human rights of a person, whether is not arrested, whether is arrested, definitely the rights of the person that has been found guilty and is incarcerated must be totally different than a person who's walking on the street. But what we find happening is that there is more rights for those in prison than you have for the person on the street. And I want to challenge you to look at your budget expenditure for the people in custody per day cost of an inmate versus what the grant you are giving to a person who's a law-abiding citizen outside the month. 350 versus 350 a month versus a 500 rands a day. That's how the scale is like. So come to prison, you're going to get education for free, you're going to get free food, you're going to get shelter, you don't run out of water, and so forth. Go outside of prison, you live in a shack. You must rob someone to have bread to eat at night. That's a reality that we find in this country. So the legislation must really, legislators yourself, we plead that you must please look at these things so that when we recruit in the police, we must recruit people who want to protect themselves, not the career people that they can't find jobs somewhere else and they come to the police as a job opportunity that is created.
No lies detected. There are no lies detected in the statement that General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi have shared with us. Now, if you know this guy comes with facts, comes with receipts. So he's not just thinking this. There are facts that are supporting this, you know. So to this statement, I honestly think that this is very profound and true. And my question is that how is it that people who are in prison, they have it better than people who are outside of prison? Now, I did Google this. I'm just going to read you the figures. I was in denial to see how much budget is allocated for the Department of Correctional Service to cater for prisoners. I was so shocked. Now, I'm just going to display it in the screen so you guys can see. I'm just going to read here. The Department of Correctional Service in South Africa has a substantial budget to care for prisoners' needs. According to the latest estimate of national expenditure, the allocated budget for 2025 to 2026 financial year is 29.2 billion rands. This amount is an increase of 2 billion from the previous year. Now, I'm not going to read this, but guys, in my honest opinion, I was in denial that in South Africa we have this amount of money to spare for people who are in prison, who did not just commit petty crimes. These people are serial killers. These people have stolen. These people took other people's lives, and we have this huge amount of budget to spare them. Why? They have it better than people who are outside of prison. The way that even General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi stated, they have it better. So I looked at the figures and I was in denial that how can they be given so much money, so much budgets? And I even went on to Google, in which sectors does this money go to? So this is what it also gave me. The Department of Correctional Service, let me see. Just give me a few seconds. Okay, there are several factors contribute to the high budgets. So the reason that these budgets is too high, now these are the sum of several factors that contribute to it being that high. So number one, it's personnel cost. The department is labor intensive with 39,204 personnel at a cost of 19.4 billion in 2024 to 2025, which is a significant portion of the budget. Infrastructure, that's the second factor. Infrastructure and facilities. Maintaining and upgrading correctional facilities, including food, service, healthcare, and educational facilities, requires a substantial funding. Now, this is not free. This is being funded by the taxpayers of this country. I don't even know why they are including educational facilities. Food, I understand, it's an everyday thing, but the educational facilities, what are they for? Where are they going to contribute with this education that they're going to get in prison? How are they going to contribute to the society? Because some of them, majority of them, have criminal records. Even if you don't have a criminal record, when a company looks in your background check and they find that you have criminal charges in your name, it's really hard to hire you in that company because you are a risk to that company. So I honestly don't understand what is the educational facilities for. Anyways, let's get to the third point. Rehabilitation programs. The department invests in rehabilitation programs, education and skills development to reduce recidivism and prepare inmates for reintegration into society. Okay, the fourth one, security measures. Ensuring the safety and security of inmates, staff, and facilities requires significant investment in the security personnel, equipment, and technology. Animal care. The department operates agriculture correctional centers with over 1 million animals, requiring funding for animal care and feed. I don't even know why does this even exist? They should be eating greens. Then the sixth one is contractual obligations. The department has contractual obligations such as a public and private partnership that requires significant funding. I don't know what the hell this is about, but it's mentioned here in the several factors that contribute to these high budgets of 29.2 billion rands. Now the last one is inflation and budget cuts. The department faces a budget cut and inflationary pressures which can impact service delivery and requires efficient management of resources. Now these are the contributing factors that they named that are contributing to these high budgets per annum, which is 29.2 billion and counting, right? So I remember a long time ago, I never thought I'll be looking at this the way I do now. So a long time ago, I once had a conversation with a person who worked at the Department of Correctional Service. She was a warden. She's retired now. Now she mentioned some really profound things, which now I see that it makes sense for the budget to escalate to this point. She mentioned that when she was working a long time ago, prisoners would plant their plants, they would grow plants. So there were no food schemes to supply foods to prisoners. She mentioned that prisoners would plant plants, vegetables, they would grow their fruits, there would be trees for food, plants, they would just plant, they would do everything concerning agriculture. Even feeding the animals, there would be leftovers from the food when they harvest, there would be leftover, and that food, they would use that food to feed the animals, right? Which now these animals, they need funding for food and care. As the point mentioned that there is an animal care unit sector where it requires funding for animal care and feed. So the warden told me that there would be leftover food when they harvest. And though that food, they will take it to feed the animals. So it was a regenerating system in prison. There were no food schemes to supply prisoners because prisoners would do everything themselves. Even cleaning, cooking, planting, they would do everything themselves. And there were no shooting up high budgets like it is now. Now when I'm connecting the dots, it makes sense because look at the budget. If you look at this 29.2 billion rands budget, what can it do to the public? Are you telling me there are no halls that can be built with this money? No job employment? There will be something of some sort. Are you telling me that with this budget, when it's given to the public, would then be no employment to the public? Because this money is all taken to the prisoners, to support prisoners, feed them, everything. So I honestly think that these food schemes tenders were introduced because people wanted to get their hands on this money that is given, this budget that is given. Mind you, this budget is given by the government of this country, and these food schemes, they want to get their hands on this money. So this is unfair. For me, this raises a question about fairness and resource allocations in the society. As like I was thinking of it, what can a person who has a criminal record, what can that person do, contribute to the economy of this country? Because these people are given free education, they're given healthcare services, food and shelter. When law-abiding citizens are living in shacks without any water or food. So make it make sense. How can a person who has a criminal record, mind you, in this country, in South Africa, when you have a criminal record, it's impossible for you to get hired. You are a risk, a red flag. So you are basically written off in the employment system of this country. So they are giving these people free education to obtain degrees, bachelor's, qualifications. What are they going to do with these qualifications? How are they going to contribute to the economy of this country with the qualifications that they obtained from prison? You have a criminal record. What chances do you have of employment when you go outside? None. Zero. So why would you equip someone who can never be able to contribute to the financial economy of this country? Why would you equip someone with qualification when they can never be able to contribute to the economy of this country? It does not make sense. Now there are children out here, young people in general, who are struggling to get to universities because of financial education schemes. They're struggling to get education. Mind you, those people, they have no criminal records, and yet they are struggling to get into universities because they don't have any financial scheme of any sort. Because of that reason, they have to go back home, and the unemployment rate shoots high. There are a lot of young people who are unemployed. There are a lot of young people who can't go to universities. If we're being honest, yes, we do have bursaries in this country, but how many people do you know who are funded by bursaries? I'm excluding NSFAS in this. There are a lot of bursaries, but we all know that bursaries are selective and they have a high bar that not all learners can be able to reach. Out of 10 students, a bursary can pick one, and you have 10 students who want to go to varsity. What do you say to the 9? What are the chances of these 9 other learners? What chances do they have to get into university when a bursary only picks one? So the only financial education scheme that young students can rely on is NSFAS. And if we're being honest, NSFAS is overpopulated. The budget is exploding because there are a lot of requests, a lot of learners who are requesting to be funded by NSFAS. So NSFAS cannot take all these learners upon its shoulder and cover their educational financial costs. Yet prisoners are given free education. It does not make sense. They don't pay anything. They get free education, free books, classes, tutors, they get free of everything. Why aren't these benefits given to people who are outside of prison? So what General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi said, it's very true and profound. It had me looking at this whole thing in another way. And it made sense that really there is unfairness in this country. Because people who have done wrong, who are supposed to be in prison for punishment, they are getting privileges and benefits like no other South African citizen. And these people, when I tell you, some of these people, majority of them, when they come out of prison, chances of them going back, it's 90%. They come out with that qualification, go to the public and see that, okay, I can't relate with anything. I am going to continue where I left off, and they do the same crime and go back to prison. There are a lot of cases of prisoners being released and going back within a month or a year, they go back because of committing a same crime or other crime. So it does not make sense. The government really has to look at this, because these people who are contributing to the economy of this country are people who are working twice hard. I'm talking about people in the middle class, people who are paying student loans after getting the qualification, where there is a prisoner out there who's getting free education and they're not going to contribute to the economy or anything like that. So people who have made it and are employed, they have a lot of responsibilities on their shoulders. They don't get a break. They have student loans to pay. Tax has its share on their salary. They have personal needs. They have family. They have bills to pay. And they're left with nothing. Just like Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi said, that they are living in shacks without food or water. So the government of this country really must find a solution to this. If they have to cut costs, so be it. I think prisoners should go back to the old way of doing things, which is for them to go and plant, which is for them to grow crops, to do whatever that they need to do. They should be hands-on. The education part, I honestly believe it should be cancelled. What are they contributing with their qualifications in this society? Nothing. So guys, please do let me know what you think in the comment section, and I will see you on my next upload.